Welcome to the Gentleman's Talk, where the podcast talks about a man's battle with mental health, his personal experiences, and his journey to be a better soul. Hosted by James Dean Littlejohn.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Gentleman's Talk. Here we are on Thursday. We're finally getting through the week. I can smell the weekend. It excites me. The sun is shining, and it gave me that spur of energy to jump on board and have a chat with you. Not that I need that, but you know, it's always nicer when I see a bit of sun. You know, the last couple of days have been a bit miserable for me, and I'm not going to lie, they've been a bit tough, you know, because I've not been able to get out and about, not even able to, you know, go for walks. It's been raining, it's been cold. And it's just not nice. I just don't like that. You know, to stay positively and to stay afloat above my normal mood, the sun does get me there. You know, it takes me to the bit where I feel a lot better, and it's not just coasting through life. And that's what the sun does for me. It gets me out and about. It gets me, as I've said and you've heard the last couple of days, that you know, it's had me, you know, out playing golf. It's had me walking down to the local beach. It's had me doing things, and that's what is helping with my mental health. Otherwise, I get to the point where I'm just coasting along, almost staring at a screen, really, just doing my work, and I don't like that. That's not for me. So the sun came out. It warmed up. It was Baltic this morning, though. I'm not going to lie to you. My toes were cold. Brittle bit of frostbite there. But, you know, here I am. Talking to you, and I've got a really, really good topic, and it's a very controversial topic, so I know it's definitely going to give some food for thought. I know my opinions on it. I know how it works, but it's more of an interactive way of talking to you today. And I think that's really important, to engage with you a little bit more. And what do I mean by, you know, what's the topic today? He says, what's the topic, James? Spill the beans. Well, I want to talk about tough love. And what do I mean by that, by tough love? Well, ultimately what I mean by tough love is, you know, if you've got a friend, a family member, or someone close to you that's suffering with mental health, you know, we often say that sometimes that, you know, that tough love, it sort of helps people, you know, to you know, kind of support themselves. However, I think it's just delivered the wrong way these days. And when I say tough love, I automatically think of, you know, phrases such as snap out of it, man up. And I've spoke about these before in podcasts, you know, so they're not nice words. They're very, very negative words. And I personally think there's a place for tough love. I really do. I just think you've got to deliver it the right way. It was interesting. I had a conversation yesterday with a colleague of mine who's going through, you know, her own issues, and I'm a diversity and inclusion advisor, so, you know, I get involved in all these things because I absolutely love helping people. And I had a conversation, and I almost gave her tough love, but she said it's ironic because the way you delivered it and the way that I'd heard it a couple of days ago from a female friend of hers, she's having these problems, and basically, you know, obviously when you're in work, you have to support these people, we have to support our colleagues, and we have to support our co-workers. So she's having her own issues. I'm not going to talk about them because of you know, for obvious reasons, but she was told by a friend to you know, are we still talking about this? And she was like, what? She was like, well, I thought you would have sorted this by now. And that's the, you know, the level of support that she got from a very good friend of hers who was a female, you know. And you'd like to think, and we spoke about this, that females are a lot more engaged in empathy than men, do you know? So naturally we don't really feel empathy. There's obviously some people out there that will argue that case with me, but I certainly don't. I struggle to feel empathy. I always have done, which is why tough love, I think, works with me. But there's many complexities to a person's mental health, including whether it's trauma, whether they've learned different habits, or they might even have a chemical imbalance in the brain, which is, you know, caused by things like bipolar and stuff like that. So it's not something you can just snap out of, you know. They're all able to be treated. Some are a little bit more of a difficult process to be treated than others. Certainly, like say PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It's manageable, and there's different levels of PTSD. You can get PTSD that someone's had, a trauma that's been fairly sort of low key, if you like, but still affects them because their mental capacity isn't able to process that. Then you've got other levels where you've got PTSD from soldiers who, go to war zones and see things that you're not really geared to see. And although we're all, I've got experience. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been there for 6 months, and I've done frontline duties. So, for me, it's although you get trained, to a level, I'm nowhere near the level of training that you would expect from someone like a Marine or SPS or SAS, whatever, so, but you're still slightly conditioned to those things, but it doesn't really prepare you for what you can see, and that's, indicative of like other traumas, such as my car crashes, which actually is what my PTSD is involved around. Is car crashing. It's just something as simple as that. Some people can brush it off. I certainly did at the start, but 3 car crashes in, I stopped just brushing it off, and it really consumed my life. But there's ways to manage this, and there's ways to manage your mental health, and I think there is a place for tough love. I just think it's how you deliver it. Pushing someone with a mental health too hard can actually send them backwards, and actually regress them. I know that if you spoke to me a certain way, it would regress me massively. And sometimes it takes years to overcome. It depends on what their coping mechanisms that they've developed and whether they can shake them off. It depends on, what their level of mental health problems are. Is it just PTSD? Or you don't realise that with PTSD, I then developed depression, manic depression, and anxiety. Now, if you push someone with anxiety disorder, for example, into things that are too big for their anxiety, you're going to end up reinforcing the fears behind their intrusive thoughts and setting them back in their recovery. So it's really, really important that you don't do that. It's really important that you acknowledge that mental health is an invisible disease, but it's a very, very consuming disease. And I've been sort of kind of really thinking about this because, tough love has a place, and once you're in therapy and things like that, it gives you the ability to sort of break down and deal with coping things. But at the same time, if you're not careful about how you approach the situation, and how you deliver it, you can actually end up making that person worse and potentially ruining your friendship or relationship, because you need to acknowledge and sort of kind of understand them, So, unfortunately for me, the traditional way of tough love includes a range of aggressive, confrontational practices, which their ultimate goal really is to break down the defense mechanism that person has put up to accompany their disorder, if you like. So, it just depends on how you get involved in that and how you deal with that. So, for me personally, would I have accepted tough love? I think I could now. If I'd have been deep in my depression stage and somebody had said to me, bit of tough love, I'd have gone. In fact, I did have that a couple of times, and I probably would have turned around and gone, no, mate, you haven't lived this. You don't know what it's like to go home and sit there and dwell on things, not sleep properly. And we spoke about the signs yesterday, didn't we? Or the other day, sorry, on my last podcast. And those signs are able to give you a feel for that person, whether they are, what sort of state of mind they're in. And I think that for me personally, with regards to sort of kind of tough love, it doesn't always work with mental health. But what you can do is, I suppose it just depends on how you deliver it, really. And I think I deliver it in such a way that it's not tough love, but it's supportive, because ultimately what you're trying to do is break them down to understand that they're supportive. Because what you do when you get these mental health conditions, the first thing you do is you put up a barrier. It's the first thing you do. You bang up the thickest barrier you can, which only just gets reinforced with time. It doesn't disappear. It just gets worse. So, you know, you'll start engaging with your friends and, you know, your loved ones. You'll slowly build up barriers which will stop you seeing your friends first normally. Then you'll break it down to, you know, your family and loved ones, and then you'll put up a barrier against them, and then before you know it, you're encompassed in this complete and utter thickened shell of armour that is stopping you from seeing anybody, dealing with anybody. All confrontations disappeared. It just basically sits there and completely consumes you, and then what you end up doing is sitting in, you know, a lonely place, a horrible place, and you don't know how to deal with that. So what you do is you go, everyone hates me, but what you don't realise is you've systematically broken those barriers down to be alone. So for me personally, I think that if you deliver tough love the right way, and rightly so, I to give you a prime example, and I spoke to this person the other day, and we had a conversation, and we've had a couple of conversations, just to support her. I'd listened, and it got to the point where actually I kind of said to her, I said, right, can I just stop you there? I said, not in a negative way, but I just said, can I just stop you there? I don't mean to sound rude, but this has been going on for the best part of four to 6 weeks. And I said, we seem to be going around the same story, and it's the same, it seems to be the same, rhetoric. It's everything is the same. You just don't seem to be getting out of this spiral. And all it's doing is making it worse. And, I kind of said to her, I said, look, you're not going to deal with this if you keep going around in circles. And the conversation went on, and it kind of became a tough love. And I kind of said, look, she'd spoken to me in a little bit of a negative way, but that was just because of her mental health. And I can understand that, and I can relate to that. So I didn't take offence to it. But what I did do was I actually gave her the facts. So I said, right, this is what you've said to me. You've done this, and you've done this. Okay, so I've got a collection of things here. How do you feel about that? And she turned around and said, well, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that. And I said, but that's how it's coming across. I said, then I've got a fairly thick skin. So if you say that to the wrong person, I could possibly see why your friends have started avoiding you, because they don't want, you're not addressing your own problems. You're just going round in a spiral, and you're speaking to loads of different people, giving them the same story, and they're giving you advice. You're not listening to their advice. You're just keep talking about the same circle of stories. And so I needed to break that cycle, and I needed to break that down. So I broke it down, and an hour later after a conversation, and it was pretty one-way conversation from me, to be perfectly honest, and I don't mean that in a negative way, it was fully supportive, but I broke it down and I said, right, this is where you're going wrong. I can see this, and we've spoken about this, and this is the advice your friends are giving you. It's the same advice I'm giving you. It's the same advice that your line manager, etc., because we all know about this, has given you, yet you're here and you're still dwelling on it. So, and you know what? We got a massive positive out of that, because at the end of the conversation, it was all happy as Larry, and Larry is always happy, isn't he? And and we had a good conversation, and she ultimately felt better. And I said, well, that's the goal here. The goal is to make you feel better, so that you can hit the day harder and better, and achieve more things in it, rather than just sitting there and dwelling. And trust me, I know that the next day afterwards, it could have gone dramatically downhill again. But what I have done is I've broken down those barriers enough to interject some some facts and some sort of figures and some stats, and just go, this is what's happening. I know why it's happening. You know why it's happening. You're just choosing to ignore it. So there was tough love, really. That is a prime example of tough love. But what it did do was, I in the tough love conversation, I acknowledged exactly what she was going through, and I think that's where you need to start. So that basically, if you seriously acknowledge them, then you validate them and you make them feel better because you're putting them in a safe place with you. So ultimately, they know they can confide in you. They know they can talk to you, and they know they can be open and honest. And that is where I talk about being friends, and that's where I talk about your friends stepping in and giving you that tough love. But ultimately, if you're not in a situation or not in a position where you can give tough love, but in such a way that you won't affect their mental health again, then obviously I completely and utterly advise against it, because you have to deliver it in the right way. And I suppose what gives me the right to give tough love, I personally can stand here right now and say to you, I've earned the right to give tough love because I've been through it, I've gone through it, and I'm going through it still, So I can relate to the feelings from anybody. I can relate to what they're feeling. I can relate to where they are. I can even, to a point, see the foreseeable future. If they carry on this journey the way they're carrying on, I can say to them, hand on heart, look, I've been fighting this 10 years, mate. If you carry on this path, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any. Worst case scenario is you end up with the suicide on your hands. That's the crux of it. That's the ultimate result of mental health is suicide, isn't it? That's we ignore it all the time, but it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate goal, isn't it? If you not goal, but it's the ultimate result. Goal. That's horrendous. The ultimate goal, mate. Kill yourself, dickhead. Sorry. It's the ultimate result of poor judgment, isn't it? So I can hand on heart say that I've got the ability to understand, and I think that if you haven't lived in that person's shoes, or certainly lived in the shoes of somebody with or even suffered from mental health yourself, I don't really, and this is going to sound quite harsh, I don't really think you've earned the right to dictate to anybody, what they should be feeling, because I don't think you've felt the depths of the darkness that can come along with mental health. But what you can do, and I'll underpin this with, actually you still can support, is do it the other way, and just acknowledge what they're going through. And I mean seriously acknowledge what they're going through, and sit there and go, okay, I can't relate. And this is what a lot of my friends do for me. I've certainly had it from my best friend. Is he turned around and said, I don't know what you're going through. I've never experienced it. I can see you're in pain. How can I support you? And I turn around 9 times out of 10 and say, knowing that you're there to support me is worth its weight in gold, because I've been in the situation where I've sat there and I've been 2 o'clock in the morning, wanting to end my life, and I've had no one to turn to, or didn't feel I had anyone to turn to. But for you to systematically acknowledge that you're there to support me, and I even said, well, there's nothing you can really do, mate, but if I ever phoned you at 2 o'clock in the morning, what would you do? He said, well, I would talk to you. I said, and that's all I want. I want the ability to know that somebody is at the end of the phone when I'm in my darkest hours, because that is the ultimate choice between life and death, is having somebody there to help you. And as I spoke about, 75% of men suicides of men, and that's one person killing themselves every 20 minutes. I can't emphasize that stat anymore. Just alone, the words and the numbers give it the impact it deserves. But I would like to think, going through it, I know hand on heart that if I'd have truly had someone to support me, just for a conversation, that I would have felt better. I would have gone, fuck, mate, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what to do. I'm fucking sat here. He'd be like, fucking... I mean, if I'd have told probably my best mate what I'd just done, he probably would have gone, fucking stay there, stay on the phone. I'm taking tomorrow off because I'm coming up now to sit in the field with you. Do you know what I mean? And that's the level of respect and the level of support that you need in your life. And I see I'm on so many mental health forums and mental health things, And I always look at them, and I always read what's being put, and 9 times out of 10, they haven't got people around them to support them. They haven't got the structure. They haven't got the people that care. Most of the people I spoke to with mental health problems, including this person I've had conversations with, they haven't got support. They're doing it alone. And I've gone, well, you're not doing it alone. She said, well, I am. I don't know who to turn to at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've gone, look, if it's to the point where it's literally life and death, and I don't mean this in a negative way because I don't really know her, but I said, if it's life or death and you need someone to talk to bring you down to that place where you can wake up tomorrow morning happy, or at least here, not even happy, but just here to rebuild yourself, then call me. I'll answer the phone, I'll be groggy, but call me, and we can do this together. And I think that, I say I've got no empathy. I've got a lot of empathy for mental health. I really have. It's such a key part of my life because I know that I live and learn it every single day. It does consume me. I still live with it. And one of the things I'm seeing at the moment, actually, is which was quite refreshing to see, is a lot of high-end managers on LinkedIn at the moment are posting pictures of them with their antidepressants. And a lot of them say things like, excuse me, I'll just take a little sip because it's midday and I'm not used to that. Oh, lovely. You can have a little bit of music while I'm listening. And a lot of them say, if I've got to take a tablet to function, then I will do. And I think that's really important because there's such a stigma behind taking tablets. A lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people don't want to get diagnosed with it because of whatever, recreational hobbies. And they think to themselves, get diagnosed, I can't do my hobby. Or if I get diagnosed, I can't get promoted. I can't reach the goal I want to get to. So a lot of the times mental health conditions are hidden because they don't want people to know. And that's really unfair. That's really, really unfair, actually. So, for me, that it's invaluable to have that support. It's invaluable to kind of, understand. And for instance, and here it is here. So this is a managing director of a company. So very high up. She put, this is her. She put a picture of sertraline 50 milligrams, and she said, and I'll read out to you just to show that, we can talk about this. And this is a woman in a high power position, managing director. She put, what people see is a happy, confident leader, my new car, and Karma, her business, doing well as a business. What people don't see is the antidepressants that I've been relying on for 3 years, a full day last week where I was completely crippled by anxiety, my messy house that I haven't had the mental capacity to tidy. I, however, have nothing to hide. And she says, I'm Hannah, I'm a managing director, and I struggle. You can have good things going on in your life and still struggle. It's okay to feel the way you feel regardless of your situation, and it's absolutely fine to be reliant on antidepressants. Trust me. Now, I can relate to that and that's why it resonated to the point where I saved it, because for me personally, I've been sat on the highest level of antidepressants, paroxetine you can get, which is, she's on 50 milligrams, I'm on the equivalent. And I'm not saying this isn't Tenerife 11 Reef, I'm not saying, 4-skin, 5-skin here. What I am saying is, sertraline 50 milligram, I'm on the equivalent, which is 150 milligrams. I'm on that equivalent. So she's on 50, I was on 150. But what I am saying is, I take an antidepressant, I take an anti-anxiety tablet, and I take sometimes a beta blocker as well. But it gives me the ability to wake up in the morning, conduct my job professionally, be a happy dad, be a happy husband, and the ability to be a happy friend. Yes, I have tough days. Yes, there's days where, literally, I'm not kidding you, was it Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday, I was physically as well. I thought it was Wednesday. And I remember clocking off at work at 4 o'clock, and I went and had an hour's sleep because I was consumed. I was drained. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the motivation. But it's okay to have those days. It's okay to be like that. But everybody thinks you should just be firing like 24/7, like clicking, like boom, 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 and they don't realise you can't do that. It's unsustainable. But the fast pace of life and modern technology makes us accessible 24/7. It makes us look at our phones 24/7. We're sat on our phones, we're looking at everyone's better lives, and we're looking at these social media influencers, if you want to call them. I call them wankers, if I'm honest, because I don't see their point and purpose in life to literally make me try and buy things that I can't really afford, because an influencer, somebody who got it for free, is telling me that I can have it. And this is how amazing their life is. So I don't agree with social media. I really fucking hate it, actually. It's become such a negative part of my life. And here I am now doing podcasts, and already I'm sat there going, and I'll talk about this at the end, actually, because I probably need a little bit of help from my listeners here. So, but anyway, we'll talk about the end. Excuse me. But anyway, back to tough love. So I think there's a place for it. I think that you need to have either living it, to be able to deliver it effectively. Otherwise, you can alienate yourself and ostracize yourself from people. And I think that's not fair, because number one, you'll end up being hurt, and it's ultimately just not a place where you want to sit. It's not the nicest of place. So, but what I do acknowledge is when you break down the barriers, I'm certainly a lot more open now, but I've smashed my barriers down myself. I mean, I've taken a sledgehammer and gone, I can't be like this anymore. I need to be open. I need to be honest. I need to, even to the point where someone messaged me today to say, can we, do you want to meet up and have a drink? And my friend of mine. And I said to him, look, man, I'd absolutely love to, but fuel prices and everything at the moment, I can't drive to you. It's like 2 hours away, I had to be honest, whereas part of me would have gone, yeah, and then I'd just chinned him off if I'd have been in my depression mode. But I went, no, I'd rather be honest with you, mate. It's really expensive. But what we can do, mate, is we can jump on, a Skype call or a Teams call, and we can have a chat and a beer without actually having to physically drive anywhere. Use technology for its positive, But I fully understand that speaking openly about depression really does normally make people feel comfortable. Mainly men don't want to admit it, and females, I don't know, I haven't got experience in females, but I can assure you that I know that from going to group therapy, which I've spoke to before, which literally is the worst thing I've ever sat in, but it might work for you, it might work for people, but there was people in there that you could see that they were physically awkward about talking about it, whereas for me personally, I'm open and honest about it, because I think it needs to be open and honest. I think people need to understand that here I am in a senior management position now, and I take a tablet every day to get up, and I take two. I still get social anxiety. I still get to the point where I'll even organise an event with my best mate, and not so much now because I'm trying to not to, but last year I would have chinned it off. I'd have gone, no, I don't want to, right up until the last minute. And I've done that with my dad. I've done that with events for him. I've gone, I can't be asked to get dressed up and we can go to, a function. And I've just ultimately been negative. Now I'm not so much, but I think, am I too honest? Probably too honest for most people nowadays, but I like to be honest. I like to just say it as it is, if I'm not in the mood for something, I'm just like, no, dude, I'm not in the mood, mate, yeah, I'm up for it, but I'm not feeling the greatest. Can you help me coax it? And 9 times out of 10 when I get there, I'll bloody enjoy it, Sorry, I was just I just knocked my bloody mouse there. But it's really important to address it, and I think that if you're confident and you have the understanding, then tough love has its rightful place. Unfortunately, I have had the negative side of things, and for many, many years, most of my friends and my family have told me many, many times to man up and you'll be fine, or it'll be all right next week, or just get through the day and tomorrow's another day. There are a lot of strong words there. There's a lot of emotion behind those words, and they drag up a lot of history when I think about it, which I have to address. But I mean, I think the term nowadays is called gaslighting. I think that's what they call it. Which is it's a way of manipulating somebody, I suppose. Sort of kind of making them feel like you're a friend, but you're not a friend, etc., etc. And I don't think that if you're if you're saying things like man up, smile, get on with it, have we not sorted this yet? If you're saying things like this, I don't really think you're a very good friend, and I don't really think you're embracing the mental health movement that is coming about, that is trying to help people. As I alluded to just a minute ago, we're all in fast-paced jobs. We're all in a fast-paced world. Everybody wants something done yesterday, and financially the world is crippled at the moment. There's a lot going on with wars and all that sort of stuff, and I don't think people actually understand the impact that it can have on someone's life, and I certainly, when I get down, it's normally because I'm consumed by work, I'm consumed by family, I'm consumed by financial constraints, and they all take a toll, and everybody feels these. For me personally, it's exacerbated by the fact that I have to at the same time deal with my own PTSD and my own depression. I have to sit there and go, I'm fine, but I'm not fine. Do you know what I mean? I have to sit there, and it's actually harder. I think people think that it's easier just to put a smile on your face, and a lot of people say, "Oh, just go sick," but I think it's actually harder. So it's easier to go sick than it is to sit there and make out that you're okay when you're not okay. I mean, the amount of times I've been sat there staring at a screen, or I've been on a meeting, or I've been at a meeting, and I've stood there and gone, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. And I'm looking there, and I'm acknowledging, and I'm smiling, and I'm going, yeah, everything's real good. I'm really happy. Inside, I want to curl up in a ball and go to bed. And I do. It overwhelms me. And before, I used to just sit there and fight it. And what I tend to do personally is when I'm feeling really crap and I'm feeling really low, I tend to do the complete opposite to my body. I tend to go, okay, let's go for a marathon then, or do you know what I mean? Let's build something. Oh yeah, let's make something. Just because I fight it so much, I don't want to accept it. And I still do this now, even though I'm talking to you on a weekly basis and I'm, talking about my experiences. I still do that. That is a severely crippling coping mechanism that is going to be a difficult one to break, because it's not even when I'm being told by people, James, calm down, you're not in a very good place. You've just literally told me you're not in a good place, because I'm open and honest. And I go, yeah, but why the fucking hell are you out here, mate, building a fence? I'm like, I have to build a fence, mate. It needs to be done now. I'm going to the shop. I'm going to buy the wood. I'm going to do it. And then I do that. I just go on I don't sit still. So it's really counterproductive for me and the way my coping mechanisms work. And even talking about this, and I can register it and I can acknowledge it. I'm there. I'm sat there. I've archived it, mate. I'm plugging away. However, will I do anything about it? I don't know how to do something about it just yet, because I'm still dealing with the PTSD. I still deal with the fact I have to function on a daily basis. Is there a negative to this? There is on my health and my body, but not really on the people around me to a degree, unless it affects them through my mood swings. But I still get really emotional about things. Prime example today, and this is not me sort of kind of requesting assistance or anything like that, because it's not. I've dealt with it, but I didn't receive my proper pay slip this month because it's a new job. And it had all been screwed up anyway, and it turned out it was the incompetency of the company. So I obviously sent an email because they said it was to do with my line management. So I sent an email, and the email did sound a little bit rude, and it wasn't. It's because I wrote with emotion, and I shouldn't write with emotion. I didn't mean to. But obviously when you deal with money, everybody's passionate about money at the moment, because there's not a lot of it about. So we're all trying to hold on to it, So for me personally, that was where my emotion comes. So I think that's a justified emotional response, if I'm honest. But again, it was directed to the wrong person. But that was probably on the fault that I didn't know who to direct it towards, or the fact that when I'd contacted the company who screwed up originally, the people that should have dealt with it, they blamed someone else. So it became a blame game, and I was like, well, I'm in the middle here, and I'm the one that's losing out emotionally and financially. So I still have these coping mechanisms to resolve, and it's going to be a difficult one to break. But I do personally think that there's an area for tough love. I really do. My personal opinion is I think I've earned the right to say it. I don't think that people know how to say it, and I've had, unfortunately, a lot of feedback with regards to tough love, and a lot of people saying, oh yeah, my mate said I've got to just man up and just get on with it. And I'm like, Just man up. It's a chemical imbalance in your fucking brain, mate. It's not a case of just fucking man up. And this is what I don't think people understand about the mental health problem is it's not a case of just man up. You don't wake up one morning and go, I'm fucking depressed. You know, I mean, I'd like to think that, well, I know that there's a lot of people that do think that. They wake up in the morning and think I'm fucking depressed all of a sudden. And unfortunately, the facts aren't there. The facts are, you know, this has normally been... It's been something that's been happening a long time. I spoke about the signs yesterday, and part of, or 90% of all of those signs were suggesting this is a prolonged period. Look out for the signs. So, you know, for me personally, it's it's really important to acknowledge those signs, acknowledge the prolonged period, and then you'll understand, or start to get a little understanding on how mental health works. It's not something that just clicks and overnight you're depressed and Christ, I've had PTSD. You know, the PTSD didn't even hit me for a couple of years, really. I was kind of sad and depressed about it, and that developed into the PTSD and developed into manic depression, which then developed into isolating myself because I built up these barriers and shut myself away from every scenario for years. Excuse me. That then developed into anxiety when I did have to do things, because you're a human, you have to, whether that's work-related or socially related. If you've got good friends, they want to spend time with you, and you have to force yourself into those situations. And a lot of the times I didn't. I spent the best part of a couple of years hardly going out. And when I did go out, it was either really disastrous for me, or it was still disastrous, but I was on a happy high, you know? So I would start doing stupid shit, drinking way too much, start... I don't know, ripping my clothes off and trying to run roundabouts and stuff naked. I had this little thing that when I would go out, I try and rip my clothes off and run around naked. I think most men try and do it, actually. I think it's just a thing it's like a barbaric thing that we just hold on to from our historic ages when we were Neanderthals. Anyway, so yeah, I think it does have a place. I think that you've got to recognise, are you a person that can deliver that? Because if you can't, you need to switch across to the other side, where you need to involve empathy, and you do need to acknowledge that they're going through something and offer them support. Whether you follow through on that, or whether they follow through on that support that offer of support, is up to them. But at the same time, I can guarantee 99.9% recurring, if you offer your support to somebody, they may not take it, but they will appreciate it. They will appreciate knowing that they have a safety net behind them, because it'll be when they're sat there in the darkest hours of the night and everybody's asleep, it'll be then when they think, have I got anyone? And if you've acknowledged that and you've told them that you're there no matter what, that's normally enough for them to say, I have got someone there. He makes an effort every single day. And I know it's hard, you know, I know it's hard to reply to people. I know it's hard to respond. And sometimes they won't respond, but at the same time, that shouldn't stop you. And it has done me previously. People have stopped talking to me and I've gone, okay, well, fuck you then, I'm moving on, mate. Jog on, mate. But in actual fact, if you've acknowledged them as a friend, you've acknowledged that they're going through something, if you talk to them, then you'll reassure them and you'll make them understand that they do have that support network, because it's so important to have people around you that care. But I have to caveat that. If you're listening and you're the person on the other side going, well, people do contact me, I don't contact them back, I'll resort back to, you need to look after yourself as well, because otherwise you're going to end up just draining your friends, because you're going to be constantly negative. So there needs to be an element of a way of dealing with it, and certainly one of my friends, actually, very relatable to this. We got talking through this medium, through the podcast and listening to me, and we just grew, and we've got, now that I've spoke to you, the Positive Vibes group, and he's going through therapy now. And I've said to him, when I first spoke to him, I was like, mate, you need to go to therapy. Okay, you've got to go, because you will better yourself 110%. And on the back of that, he's gone and done therapy. I think he's 3 sessions in now, which is absolutely fantastic. And he was saying that he's had a really bad night's sleep after therapy. And I said, well, you're going to, because you're talking about things. You're upheaving all this negativity. You need to talk it. You've got to process it. So you're going to have bad dreams. You're going to have bad conversations. But you need to embrace it and go, okay, yeah, But you need to be supportive when someone talks to you as well. So offer them to talk, but listen. Be an ear to listen to them. Don't try and offer them too much advice, because you may not be experienced enough to offer them the right advice. And also they may not want advice. They may just want someone to listen to them. So anyway, he's going through this, and I said to him, stick with it. But what he doesn't realise is on the back of the conversations, on the back of the therapy, on the back of the support that we've been offering as friends, he's been offered another job, which is fantastic, away from what he's doing now completely. And I've said to him, you must go for this. You must go for this job, because it's a new sector, it's new challenges, it's going to help you grow, and it's going to pull you away from the coping mechanism that you have developed in your current role. Because he doesn't realise, and I don't think he realises, that his current role is his coping mechanism to get through stuff. Well, you're bettering yourself, and people are acknowledging that. And I think that this new job will be a great move for him and his family. On the back of that, he's absolutely fully engaged in fitness, and he's losing weight. He's putting money aside for every time he has a good diet day, so he gets a reward at the end of it, so he can go and buy some nice new clothes. And all of these are really, really good ways of getting the results you want in an achievable way, but more importantly, in a manageable way. So you've got to embrace this. You've got to embrace the change. You've got to embrace the support that you're getting. All this is, 30 odd podcasts. I've just been talking about nurturing the people around you. And it all starts with you, but your friends will be there for along the journey. And that's where everything just seems to gel and seem to click into place. And you get those cogs firing again. Before you know it, the gears are turning and everything just starts working again. I'm in this very skeptical place at the moment, where I think that it's going to all go wrong. As Will Smith, who couldn't have been any more wrong in his recent escapade, put it rightly. When you're at your highest point, that's when the devil strikes. And it is very much true, because normally it's not the devil that strikes. It's normally somebody around you that is jealous of your height, or and I don't mean physical height, but the height you've received. And we all make mistakes through life. We all make poor judgments. I've been around people that have done that to me, and I don't really hold them to account. I go, okay, well, that was you then, but I would never ever try and strike someone down when they were high. I would always go, well done, mate. You've got where you've got through, determination, grit, and just passion. Do you know what I mean? So part of me is a little bit skeptical at the back that I've worked tirelessly for the last year. And I'm trying to be a nice person. I'm not trying to be, I am a nice person. I'm really making an effort with my friends. I'm really making an effort with my personal life. I'm really making an effort with my professional life. And yeah, I'll slip up from time to time, as I did earlier on with could have been construed as a rude email, but it wasn't. And I actually sent an apology to the person saying, I'm really sorry. I've reflected back on my email, and I hope it didn't come across as rude. They haven't replied, which always affects me when they don't reply. So in fact, actually, she just pinged up, actually, my line manager says you didn't come across as rude at all. So sometimes, you see, there's a prime example. I read the situation as I thought I was being rude. In actual fact, she says, I totally understand how emotion can reflect on pay issues. So, yeah. She's asked for anything I can do to speed up the resolution, that I'm happy to do. So that's the support you need. So I read that situation wrong. You've just had a live aspect there of me reading a situation wrong, me thinking I need to... Because I put down to my line manager, I put, hi Victoria, thank you very much for getting back to me. And on reflection, my original email, I hope I didn't come across as rude. I hate sending emails like this because they can be read differently. But again, I really appreciate your support, as always. I thought I was rude. Transpires you didn't come across as rude at all, but that's because whenever I've sent emails and text messages with emotion, or some people can read my wording. As you probably tell, I really like English and I really like words. So I do try to emphasise things a little bit, and sometimes that can come across as arrogant, and sometimes it can come across as quite abrupt and rude. I never mean it like that, because it's not in my nature to be rude. I can be a bloody horrible person, but I don't like being a horrible person. I really just like to make people succeed. And, another success story to talk about is my best friend. He said to me, I want to get out and I want to get somewhere new and try a new job closer to home, and I'm going to tirelessly work to make that happen for him, including assisting him, for a couple of 3 hours. And, I do this because out of the love and respect I have for him. I don't want any reward, thanks or gratitude for it, because that's not it's not about that. It's not about wanting something for something. You should just want to give back because you're a nice person, and that's what I do. I'll happily have a beer with him, but I really like that coach, like that life coach emphasis on it. I really like that. I really like nurturing people, because I've done it alone. I've pushed myself daily to be a better person, to better myself, to be better financially stable for my family, to be a better dad. I work tirelessly for that, and I've got 3 girls that absolutely cripple my passion sometimes, because they're going through their own things, and I understand that, and I have to respect that, and I do. But at the same time, it can be disheartening. But we motor on. So I've done it alone. I really have. And I don't mean that as look at me, play the violins, because I'm not on about that, But if you want to smash an orchestra for me, then crack on. I'll listen and I'll enjoy. But for me, it's about, if we all help each other in life, life is easier. And that's where I've nurtured people around me. And I've got the people around me that I want to be able to rely on talking to them. And I want to be able to call on them. Or I want to be able to do things with them to make my memories and make my life better. If you've got people around you that aren't willing to do the same, that is when the negativity comes in. And I think that's what gives me the right to give other people tough love. Because I can say, I've been there. Literally have been there. I have been to the point of no return. It's just whatever stopped me, some divine intervention just basically said, no, mate, now's not your time, buddy. Now, I was one of the fortunate ones. I wasn't one of those 1 every 20 minute statistics, but I could have been, very much so. And I think that I'm hell-bent on not getting there again. I'm hell-bent on not having anybody that's close to me and in my own support network ever get there again. I just don't want them to. I don't want anybody to ever feel that low. It's not a nice place to be. And yeah, we go through low days. We go through high days. We go through plateau days. But a low day doesn't compare to a low day with mental health. And I'm not saying this because, again, look at me. What I'm saying is I'm trying to give the emphasis on mental health conditions, the invisible condition that it is, can be very, very, very difficult. And it's really important to look after that, and keep that kind of going. So I think there is a place for it. To summarise, I think there's a place for tough love. I think that you shouldn't administer tough love, though, unless you really, really know how to deliver it. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but be prepared if you do and you deliver it the wrong way to have the repercussions from that. But what I can offer you is, if you can't offer the experience and the tough love with the experience that it needs, then just do a swift 180 on that and just go, do you know what, I can't offer advice on that. I can't offer experience on that. But what I can do is offer you my love, and I can offer you my support. And if you ever need to talk, or you want to go out, or you need to do something, then I'm here for you. I will make this happen. And I think that's really important. So tough love, it's a great topic. I think it is relevant to a degree in mental health. I think it's really important. And I think that, we all start off listening to people. I think if you've got the experience when you stop listening to people is, you can offer that little bit of advice going, like I did. I said, look, I've listened to this for the last 4 to 6 weeks. I fully acknowledge where you're coming from. You have my undivided attention and my support, but I need to give you a little bit of tough love because this is how you're coming across. and I don't want that because this isn't you. I can tell this isn't you, and that's the way you deliver it. That's the way to do it. This isn't you, but it comes with experience. And if you've had experience that you can offer a relatable bit of advice, which is where I think that is, it's this invaluable. That's the priceless mark, isn't it? To be able to sit there and offer advice, but at the same time caveat it with, I've been through it, mate. And then you watch their eyebrows raise, because the amount of times I spoke to people, and I talk to people a lot, and they go, "Oh yeah, well, what gives you the right to understand that? You don't know what I'm going through." Actually, I fucking do, mate. I really do. And I think that it's nice to see people engaging more with it, but it's a cautious thing. So be cautious how you approach that if you're going to offer that advice. But at the same time, acknowledge it, and also if you can't do it, just offer support. It's really important to offer support and be there for people. So I'll knock it on the head there. I hope you've enjoyed that little topic. I'm in the process, and this is where I need a little bit of help from you, actually. I'm hoping whatever platform you listen to this on, I'd love you to share my podcast, because it is getting to the point where I'm at my limit in what I can deliver. But I think I'm allowed 100 hours, which is like £9.99 a month for 100 hours max in my podcast. Well, I'm encroaching on. No, it's not. It's 50 hours. I'm encroaching on 37 hours now, and the next level up is £60. I think £60 one-off payment, and it's £20 thingy. So I'm hoping to share it out there a little bit, which is hopefully going to bring in a little bit of revenue to help me pay for the podcast subscription, because I want to keep this going. I really hope I hope it's helping you, and I really hope it's helping me. And we all do get to a point where, unfortunately, with like most things in life, you have to start paying. And I'm really invested in this, and I'm really invested in you, and I'm really invested in myself. So, but I'm not asking for financial donations. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want money. I've been down that route before. I don't want that money. I want to do it myself, and I want to, keep the journey going. And all I want from you is a share, and maybe a like and a comment, whatever you've got to do with regards to that, just to try and progress it a little bit out there, and hopefully get it a few more listeners. And then, the odd little advert will take in, and then that'll hopefully create a little bit of revenue. But anyway, enough of my absolute dribble. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Thursday. I certainly will. Just, do you know what? It's made me smile just talking about this. Just talking to you makes me smile. It's really important to be open and talk. Here I am. I can smell the weekend. I'm hoping it brightens up by the weekend and it's not 3 degrees like it was this morning. I know it was about 8 degrees, but 3 degrees with that bloody wind chill factor was unreal. But I hope you've had a good week. I really do. And I hope you've enjoyed my podcasts to date. So I look forward to talking to you again soon. And have a fantastic rest of the week and keep smiling. Love you all. Bye.